Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The DILG has designated a jail that will house suspects in the massive flood control scandal. We talk about this detention facility and more with Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla, who joins us in a while.
On to another Remulla. One civic group is urging Ombudsman Boying Remulla to investigate Vice President Sara Duterte based on allegations that built her impeachment complaint.
And is Ping Lacson returning as chair of the powerful Blue Ribbon Committee? His ally and former running mate Tito Soto hopes so, with a senator willing to sacrifice even the Senate presidency for it.
Yung nagdanako na 100 piso na lotion sa SM, dito kinukulong. Dapat yung nagdanako ng daan milyon at bilyon, dito na rin sila ikulong. Kailangan kasi pakita natin sa tao na patas ang batas eh.
While cases are being prepared against those allegedly behind or involved in the flood control mess, a detention facility is also ready to receive the soon-to-be accused. The Bureau of Jail Management and Penology has set up a center at the new Quezon City Jail in Payatas for those who will be indicted in the corruption scandal. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla has inspected the dormitory-type facility, which can house 10 people per room. It comes with a receiving area, a laundry area, even a mini chapel. Detainees will have to share a common lavatory per room, and so-called residents of this facility will also be monitored with CCTV units. As in other detention facilities, electronic gadgets are prohibited. The new Quezon City Jail was chosen because of its proximity to the Sandigan Bayan, where most of the flood control cases will likely end up. Remulla said that while they want each detainee to be comfortable, there will be no special treatment inside the facility. Remulla expects around 200 people to be brought there.
Kailangan kasi pakita natin sa tao na patas ang batas eh. Na porke senador ka na mayaman, na may kaya, na binoto ka, kung may batas kayong nilabag, yung nagdanako na 100 piso na lotion sa SM, dito kinukulong, dapat yung nagdanako ng daan milyon at bilyon, dito na rin sila ikukulong. Basihan sa Senate hearings, ang nakikita kong may indict dyan ay mga DE, congressman, senator, contractor.
Now let's get more details on this from our first guest tonight, and joining us over the phone is Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla. Good evening, Secretary.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ladies.
Well, this comes even before a single case has been filed. How soon was this planned, this jail facility for those accused?
Well, it's part of our job. It's part of our job to be prepared for these things. Judging from the hearings, we immediately thought of a plan of action so that we wouldn't get flat-footed. Our problem is that the camp facilities are no longer available to detain these people, and the expected amount is no longer. The camp facilities are unable to handle them. So the nearest to the Sandigan Bayan is the Quezon City Jail, and that's what it is.
While the facilities look very spare, some may argue as well, Secretary, that this is somehow a special treatment because they will be separated from other inmates. They're not going to be in the Quezon City Jail na alam nating siksikan. It could be argued by some quarters that this is also some sort of special treatment.
No, ma'am. If you saw the last Napoles case detainees, they were detained in single occupancy rooms with air conditioners, access to cell phones, access to unlimited visitors, and they even had visitors overnight. They would be gambling 3 nights a week straight. And so this would be much different. Center room, virtually an open bathroom, may shower naman. At kailangan 5 o'clock na sa loob ng detention facility at 11 o'clock light off. Nanggaling po ako doon 2 beses na. Hindi po, napakabigat po sa loob. Napaka-sparse ng settings. So, I don't think it's anything special.
So would it be perhaps, Secretary Remulla, parang hindi siya, kumbaga, VIP treatment, but is there also some rationale about security, safety, na kaya kinukumpul sila lahat sa isang area para mas mabilis bantayan?
Kasi ang narinig ko ay nagbibigyan sila ng right of speedy trial. So 10 trial dates lang per detainee. Kung tamang information na bigay sa akin, na narinig ko, ibig sabihin na ang conference nila sa mga abogado nila ay halos araw-araw. So nag-set up na rin kami ng special room na cubicles para ang conference ng mga abogado nila ay pwedeng continue.
Sa inyo po narinig yun, yung speedy trial na information, Secretary. To Ces's point, no, minsan kasi matagal yung mga build-up ng cases, pero what makes this different? Because some might say then, no, there's one side na accountability hinahanap, but the other side might say, buti pa sila VIP, mabilis yung mga kaso nila umusad.
Well, two sides of coin. Speedy trial means speedy conviction. Hinahanap ng mga tao talaga ay justisya. So, sa ganitong kalaking amount, dapat karapatan ng mga tao, hindi lang mga accused, na makita talaga na mabilis ma-prosecute to. Yung Napolis trial, 4 years, 4.5 years, halos 5, bago natapos. Ito, tatapusin doon nila na mabilis. At makikita ng tao ang results ng justisya na hinahanap nila.
Secretary, gawang-gawa na itong kulungan na to. Originally, what was it meant for? To decongest the Quezon City Jail?
Actually, yes. Bagong-bago po yung facility na yan. Yung nasa Kamuning po kasi dati yung Quezon City Jail. Si former Speaker Belmonte nagpagawa niya ng speaker siya. At kakatapos lang ng 3rd phase. Ito, parang last year lang natapos eh. Hindi pa ka nagagamit eh. So, we're about, ito lang. Testing natin kung magagamit na.
Ilan po yung ini-estimate ninyo, no, na preso or detainees that will be staying in this separate facility?
Well, we've set aside 20 rooms para sa kanila. So 10 to a room, that's mga 200.
So
200,
Secretary, even the big, so-called big fish, even those elective officials or those who served in the executive department will be jailed here?
Well, ma'am, hindi po kasi ako pwede magsabi kung saan sila ma-detain. Ang may karapatan na magsabi niya na yung sandigan bayan. So, hindi ko pa sila pwedeng pangunahan. Ang pwede na namin ibigay, yung option sa sandigan kung saan sila pwede ikulong. At since hindi na po option ang krame, ito na lang po ang best option sa mata namin, pero iintayin pa namin kung ano sabihin ng sandigan.
Okay, so this is being offered as an option. The Sandigan Bayan still has the final say.
Apo.
Okay. Secretary, still on the flood control mess, but pertaining to the buildup of cases, what kind of assistance is the DILG and the PNP giving for the investigation? Because these are thousands of cases, and of course, the priority is the ghost projects.
Nauna na po ang ICI. Sila po ang lead. Humingi na po sila ng number 1, security assistance. Number 2, investigative assistance mula sa ating mula sa CIDG. So, nagko-cooperate naman po kami. Ginagawa po naman ang kaya namin. And tuloy-tuloy naman po yung investigation nila.
Now, Secretary, if we can go to your disclosure in the budget hearing in the Senate, where you said that you returned 500 million in confidential funds to Malacanang. Bakit po why Malacanang, why the President, and why not to the National Treasury?
No, it's in effect to the National Treasury. Binigay namin yan, binalik namin here sa Department of Budget and Management. Sila yung nag-aalak. So the process is you return whatever to the DBM, and then they will set it aside as 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 an unused unprogrammed fund.
And is it correct that it was an insertion made by former Congressman Saldico, because you mentioned that it was a person who asked for fish importation allocations?
Well, that is my best guess because ang kasabay po sa insertion na to ay 1 billion worth of light amphibious vehicles for Region 5, specifically for Region 5, 1 billion worth. So, tinignan ko kasi yung NEP na sinabit ni President Marcos, yung budget na sinabit ni Secretary Abalos, tsaka siya yung gumawa ng budget doon. Pagtingin ko, may discrepancy. Tinanong ko kaagad si Chief Bill ng panahon na yun at sabi niya ay nilagay doon po yan ng dating Saldico. So, I guess that's ayun ang punot dulo. Para sa akin naman, yung confidential funds na 800 million para sa PNP, tapat na yun para sa operations nila. Nagagamit naman. So ang hula ko noon, ng kinakatakot ko, ay kung pipirmahan ko yun, may kapalit. At yung kapalit na yun, maselan to.
Opo, Secretary, pero yung kalahati, saan nyo ginastos?
Hindi, ang PNP po ang nagastos nun.
So, saan po ginastos ng PNP?
Yung yearly allocation nila for intelligence fund. Sila nagli-liquidate ako, hindi ako. But I have to sign off on its release. In this case, tinanong ko naman kung para saan, hindi ako masagot. So, sabi ko sa Pangulo, parang naman hindi karapat-dapat itong dagdag na 500 million. In effect, ma'am, that was a 70% increase on its confidential funds. Masela na bagay yun na yung mga ganyan, hula ko lang naman to, ay hihingin nila para sa sarili nila. Pero may kapalit mula sa akin. So, hindi ko na po minabuti na itanong pa. Sinuli ko na lang po sa DBM.
Okay. Backtrack tayo ng konti, Secretary, no? Baka may mga nalilito. So yung binalik nyo po na 500 million NDILG Confi funds, sa PNP po ito? Ito din yung part ng 100 billion worth of insertions na dapat pang light amphibious vehicles. Tama ba? So half siya.
Opo, iba pa yung 1 billion worth of light amphibious vehicles. Okay. Iba pa yung 500 billion na intelligence funds.
Okay. So yung 500... Okay, so just to clarify, yung 500 is intelligence funds. Tapos insertion yung 1 billion.
Both are insertions. Yeah.
Both are insertions. Okay.
So by insertions, you're saying that the PNP itself did not ask for this in the NEP. Sila na lang ang naglagay.
No, hindi po. Hindi po. Ang nakalagay po sa NEP, 832 million ang confidential funds nila. Bigyan lang naging 1.3 billion pagkatapos ng GA.
Okay.
So nakakagulat naman yun, di ba? Bakit biglang lalaki ito? Hindi naman hiningi. Tinanong ko sa Secretary Abalos, hindi naman daw hiningi. Bakit gano'n biglang lumaki? So yung ganyan, nakakatakot po yun Nakakatakot yung ganyan bagay. Kasi nilabuti ko na lang po isoli sa Department of Budget.
Meron po kaming information na there was also that 500 million was supposedly part of IT security infrastructure. Is that a different item in the budget?
May different item pa yun meron ng IT infrastructure. Kasi yung IT infrastructure, that's supposed to be bidded out. Hindi naman pwedeng, basta infrastructure project, kailangan bid out yan kung hindi emergency. So, itong nangyari dito, ay nakalagay lang confidential fund. Nung tinanong ko, wala naman din masabi sa akin. So, sinoli ko na lang sa Pangulo.
So, sa pagkilatis ninyo nung budget for this year, 2025, ano po yung nakita nyong anomalya apart from yung 200 plus billion for that IT infrastructure that Ces just mentioned, yung intelligence fund, the 500 na insertion plus yung 800 plus na naging 1.3 billion. Were there any other anomalies or interesting things that leapt out at you?
Yeah, there was also the 1 billion for the light amphibious vehicles na wala rin sa NEP. Pero di rin nilagay nila. Specifically for Region 5 lang, para doon lang yan. So, very suspicious naman ng, hindi lang naman Region 5 ang binabaha, Pilipinas binabaha. Pero, very specific sila na para sa Region 5 lang yung
Would you also naturally conclude that there's someone in the PNP hierarchy that's, you know, in cahoots?
Well, hindi ko na po inalam yun. Basta nung nakita ko lang na irregular, noli ko na lang po.
Hindi ho ba dapat, I'm sorry to say, Secretary, dapat yung alamin because it might have been a practice even before na merong kausap na sa loob ng PNP na siya namang magbibigay nung parte.
Mahirap po speculate ng ganyan.
Oh,
All I know that it was highly irregular.
Yeah.
And a 70% increase in intelligence funds from NEP to GAA was a very suspicious nature. Yeah.
Right.
I found it prudent to return the money.
Right, but following the modus of what they do in the DPWH, ganun po eh.
Iba yung, kasi ngayon lang ako pumasok ng national government. I've been local all my life. Ako sa Cavite kasi napakaingat ko sa pera dun. Yung accountability dun is very high. Pagdating, I wanted to impose the same standards sa JLG. Kaya dito, mas gusto namin ginagaran ang mga disbursements. Lalong-lalo na sa mga fire truck, mga body cameras, lahat po yan, pinag-aaralan namin.
Pero
Ang problema kasi, nagkaroon ng kultura ang gobyerno natin na with the impunity na ang gastusan. Hindi nila iniisip na pera ng taong bayan yan. Akala nila sa kanila yan talaga.
So,
Sa dulo ng lahat. Sa tao yan eh.
okay, rephrase ko na lang yung question, no, Secretary John Vic. Meron ba kayong investigation right now to look into all these anomalies? Kasi for all we know, pwede rin naman na na-insert na siya sa NEP pa lang, di ba? Pwedeng na-park siya doon, yung mga bagong terms that we learned. So is there an active investigation right now, either by the DILG or maybe you ask the NAPOLCOM to help you investigate?
Well, there was no actual crime committed. Insertion by its nature is practiced by senators and congressmen. Nag-iba lagi ang NEP sa GAA. So that's the process, the power of the persons with Congress. But in this case, there was really no crime committed. But I found it prudent to return the money before a crime could be committed.
All right, now going back to the new jail cells that you visited, you inspected today, would this also help, I guess, the strategies to show the people that there's really, the government is really speeding up the delivery of justice in this case?
Yes, it is a deliberate effort of the Marcos administration to show that justice will be served to those who violated the law. Pinapakita namin na handa kami. Pinapakita namin na walang special treatment. Papakita namin na yung hinahanap ng tao, hinahanap ng tao na pananagutan, mabibigay namin.
And is there anything else that you guys are doing over at the DILG to help with the case build-up?
Yes, we're part of the ICI investigation, mga tao namin doon. Actually, may effort kami ngayon na sa mga mayors na namin pinapatingin, yung nakalagay sa isumbong mo sa Pangulo. That's over 24,000 complaints. So, marami ron. Pina-farm out namin sa local para magbigay na report kung nagawa yung project o hindi.
All right, we thank you for joining us and for sharing your insights. DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla.
Meantime, progressive groups Akbayan and Tindig Pilipinas have asked the Office of the Ombudsman to investigate Vice President Sara Duterte. This is in connection with her alleged use of confidential and intelligence funds. The petitioners claim that VP Duterte may have committed grave abuse of power after she claimed last week that she used confidential funds to investigate corruption in the DepEd when she was secretary. The group said that Duterte's latest alibi is only meant to distract the public.
Nananawagan po kami sa Ombudsman na seryosohin po yung mga kaso laban kay VP Duterte, imbestigahan yung articles of impeachment dahil hindi nga naganap yung inaasahan po nating trial sa Senado. Magkaalaman na ho, di ba? We're hoping yung Ombudsman can shed light on that statement na kung talagang yun yung naging use niya ng kanyang CIF. Sana malaman din po ng taong bayan.
Ombudsman Boying Remulla says his office will look into the appeal. Remulla clarified, though, that his office can only file charges against the Vice President.
Babalitaan namin kayo kung ano naging aksyon ng aking opisina. Tungkol dito, malamang naman yan, fact-finding yan eh. Magsisimula yan sa fact-finding. Ang impeachable officer pwedeng maharap sa kaso, kaya lang, wala sa poder, wala sa kapangyarihan ng ombudsman na alisin sila sa opisina.
Coincidentally, VP Duterte spoke at today's Philippine Business Conference and Expo. The highlight of her speech, fighting corruption. Duterte pushed for digital transformation to fight graft and urged Filipinos to use technology to protect their rights and welfare.
As we digitize, we automate our processes, make data and all government transactions seamless, borderless, and transparent. And we leave no room for scrupulous backdoor transactions. We take away the power of corrupt leaders to manipulate public funds and capitalize on people's money for their personal interests, greed, and political ambition.
Over the weekend, Duterte again took a potshot at President Marcos's anti-corruption campaign. She said the bid is all for show and corruption is actually worse during this administration. She also claimed that her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, and his ally, Senator Bongo, are being dragged into the flood control scandal to derail her possible presidential bid in 2028. Sarah maintains projects in Davao City are all above board.
Ini-expect po sana natin sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos noong siya ay maupo bilang presidente ay mabawasan yung korupsyon. Dahil nakakaabala siya unang-una sa mga tao, sa mga negosyante, and syempre sa kaunlaran ng bayan. Pero ang nangyari po ay kabaligtaran. Mas lumala po yung ginagawa nilang pag-atake sa dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at kay Senator Bongo. Gusto lang din nun na matamaan yung ako. Dahil paniwala nila at siguro pakiramdam nila isa ako sa mga kandidato ng pagkapangulo sa 2028.
The Senate uncovers more problems in the budget proposal of the Department of Public Works and Highways. And since a thorough house cleaning could take years, one senator suggests to just build a brand new DPWH. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes with the report.
6,000 more questionable projects are in the 625.78 billion peso budget submitted by the Department of Public Works and Highways for 2026. This was uncovered by Senate Finance Committee Chair Win Gatchalian in Monday's budget deliberation. Some of the red flags Gatchalian identified were projects without exact location, double entries, and those divided by multiple phases. There were even 946 reappearing projects, those already marked completely in the previous years, but apparently will still be constructed in the coming year or years. Gatchalian now demands documents for each of these projects.
Hindi nyo masasamit, tatanggalin din namin yung red flag floor kasi on first glance, tapos na siya yung 2025 eh. Bakit pa tayo magdadagdag in 2026?
Tama po.
So, we will expect yung submission for red flag 1 the soonest kasi tumatakbo na yung project. Pero kung hindi nyo masasubmit yung 1 and yung 4, we will remove 271 billion worth of projects.
Dapat, kung completed na ang proyekto noong nakaraang taon, at hindi lang nung immediately preceding year, halimbawa in this case 2025, dapat wala nang pondo yan. Pero, ang sinasabi po sa akin ngayon is, baka po yung project na nandyan kaya siya nagre-recur kasi hindi pa siya kumpleto. No? But again, kailangan po yan i-validate.
Another lapse, overpricing in some of the projects. Senators warn of slashing the DPWH's infra project fund by 20 to 30% if this is not rectified.
Kasi kung may overprice, sa konsyensya po namin, hindi kami makakapagpirma pag alam namin yung disenyo at yung cost of materials ay naka-overprice.
Hindi ko po malalagdaan ang aking pirma sa 2026 General Appropriations Act kung hindi po natin binaba yung presyo ng line items. So yung across the board, magandang pahiwatig po to na tayo ay seryoso sa pagreforma sa ating budgetary process.
Secretary Dizon says they are now going through costings of all public works projects to make sure any loophole is plugged. Dizon admits his team could not understand the formula set by their predecessors on allocation per district.
Because we have to go through it region by region. Na ang presyo po ng mga materyales, simento, bakal, at iba pa, ay iba-iba kada rehiyon. Pero, clearly po, merong overprice. Again, we leave it up to the wisdom of the Senate. We will submit the list right after this hearing, Mr. Chairman. And please help us po. Also, especially moving forward, as we try to fix this. Clearly, it's a broken system, Mr. Chairman. It's been broken for some time now. As you said, maybe even decades.
And while they fix the budget, Dizon is also promising more cases against erring DPWH officials and contractors. Next to face charges are Zaldico's Sunwest Corporation and other construction companies of Curly and Sara Diskaya. For Senator Win Gatchalian, it could take years before the DPWH can clean house. He suggests abolition.
Magtayo na lang ng bagong DPWH.
This is something that Malacanang does not see happening.
May mga public servants pa rin po at public officials na masasabi natin tumutugon sa kanilang mga obligasyon. Hindi po pa naiisip kung dapat itong i-abolish dahil dapat ang tanggalin dito yung mga gumagawa ng mali.
Meanwhile, Dizon is planning to reinstate the cadet engineering program so they can recruit new civil engineers that are not tied to the so-called padrino system. Patronage and nepotism have hounded the agency for decades. The last cadet program was established way back 2013. Among its graduates, newly installed DPWH OIC for Convergence and Technical Services, Lara Esquibil. She replaces resigned Yusek Aray Perez, who was accused of having connections with contractors.
I had a very long conversation with Director Lara. Sabi ko sa kanya, huwag kang mag-aalala. Basta gawin mo lang ang tama.
Kapatid Mobile Journal Marymon Reyes, we are One News.
And still ahead, we will be speaking to the Health Department about the spike in flu cases and its call to the public to flag possibly anomalous health centers. Don't miss that when the big story returns. You're watching the big story here on One News. Quezon Province has required the use of face masks again. Governor Angelina Helentan, who's also a medical doctor, says this is to safeguard against the rise of influenza-like cases. In the flag ceremony at the provincial capital earlier today, everyone wore face masks. Per data from the provincial government of Quezon, 2,604 cases have been recorded from January to October 15. That's a 138% increase from last year's cases.
There's an increase from last year of the same period, no? So overburdened po yung hospitals namin, and we've monitored children and elderly, mga respiratory illnesses.
We're operating beyond the bed capacity na nasa 300% na po yung ating operation. Just the same with all other hospitals operated by the provincial government of Quezon. We have 14 district hospitals na halos ganun din po yung sitwasyon.
Residents of the province are in favor of mandatory masking. For them, it's better to take precautionary measures now when the situation can still be controlled.
As you all know, naranasan na natin yung gantong uri ng sakit na madaling ipasa. Kaya ngayon pa lang, at sabi nga nila is prevention is better than cure.
The health department says there's no outbreak of influenza-like illnesses in the country, at least at the moment. Let's discuss this with DOH spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo. Good evening to you, ASEC. Welcome to the Big Story.
Hi, good evening, Seth and Sean. Good evening to everyone watching and listening to us at night.
All right. So, by saying there's no nationwide outbreak, what exactly do you mean, sir?
The numbers are telling us, Seth, that from last year, comparing last year to this year, from the period September 28 rather, to October 11, 2024, the count was 8,628. It's actually lower this time around. It's 6,457. That is 25% lower. And then if we compare the previous 2 weeks this year, from September 14 to September 27, which has 10,740 cases in its count, compared to September 28 to October 11 this year, which is 6,457, it's even lower by 39%. This data comes from 4,900 plus disease reporting units nationwide.
Okay. So they may be confined to certain geographical areas only, the outbreak, I mean.
There is no such thing as an outbreak unless a local government unit declares it to be so. If you notice, even Governor Helen Tan does not use the term outbreak. She is simply responding to the seasonal flu. It is normal every year at around this time, from June to November when there is rain, and also when the temperature changes into the December season or January season, that flu just really goes up, and then it goes down again as we approach summer.
Yeah, but I guess this all started, no, Sas, because schools actually, first it started with the private schools na nagsara sila here, at least in the NCR, for about a week, and they reverted to online. And then the following week, which was last week, Monday and Tuesday, the DepEd said no classes muna. Maybe that kind of exacerbated the the news that there's an outbreak, so to speak, no? But what was it really, Dr. Domingo, that caused the closure of even public schools?
It was the earthquake, Sean. If you look at the schools that declared that they will be preparing for the flu, there is one particular school, if I'm not mistaken, it's Ateneo, that did not spend face-to-face classes. Ateneo has a medical school, and it's a very good one, so to speak, and they are looking at the public health data. Back then, they did not even say that the face-to-face class stopped. So not all schools suspended face-to-face, and DepEd itself, when it released clarificatory statement that same Monday, they really had to suspend classes not for the influenza, but for earthquake preparedness, Sean.
Yes, but I'm reading this report right now from the PhilStar. DepEd suspends in-person classes in NCR over flu-like illness and structural checks. So you are absolutely correct about the earthquake. But they did also say they were going to use the time to disinfect. Is that just the normal flu or respiratory virus that goes around that you mentioned?
It's not only the flu that they were disinfecting against, Sean. They were also disinfecting against hand, foot, and mouth disease. They were also cleaning the surroundings against dengue. It's logical for a school that's suspended because of the earthquake preparation to make use of the same time to prepare for any eventuality when it comes to illnesses. It's not an influenza outbreak, Sean.
Okay. All right. But what is causing, everyone's, the population is quite anxious about flu. What triggered this?
Because it's the rainy season test and the change in temperature. As the temperature changes at nagiging tuyo, it dries up the air. It causes irritation in our throat, in our nasal passages, which in some of us might feel like the flu, but it actually doesn't translate to the full-blown flu. Now, there are also cases of the real flu, and that's actually the number one cause, influenza A, followed by rhinovirus, which is your common colds, and then followed by enterovirus, which is the gut bug sa ating stomach and the intestines. So there really is no outbreak. This is part of the seasonal change in the disease pattern. We see this every year.
All right, but what precautions will you advise us to take?
The precautions would include washing our hands with soap and water so that we don't spread the virus, especially when we sneeze, which means we also don't cover our mouths using our hands. It's best to sneeze into our elbows or maybe into your upper arm, into your sleeve. And then, as we always say, we need to eat the right food. Fruits and vegetables high in vitamin C. You have citrus fruits, oranges, calamansi, lemon, and then followed by exercise. Believe it or not, exercise helps because it strengthens the body. The immune system is what's important here. And then finally, discipline, which means we should avoid smoking and vaping because you don't want your lungs to be weak at this time in the year. And also appropriate rest and our ability to avoid alcohol so that we will not also affect our immune system.
Mm-hmm. Aside from Quezon, going back to the other areas which may have seen an uptick in cases, are there others in other provinces or parts of the country that have had a significant increase?
We have not seen or heard any reports. We are monitoring areas, but until and unless a local government declares an outbreak, which is provided for by law, there is no outbreak.
Okay, so no official advice from the DOH to start masking up. Kumbaga, sariling kusa na lang. If you're not feeling well or if you feel that your immune system is down, then it's best to just do it on your own.
Saan kailangan bang gobyerno lagi magsasabi sa atin na mag-ingat tayo at protektahan natin ang mga mahal natin? It should be part of common public health practice.
Okay, so gayahin na lang natin si
All right. Well, the DOH also recently launched the Citizen Participatory Audit of health centers across the country. Ano ba po ang pwedeng maitulong ng ordinaryong mamamayan para po ma-report sa ICI or sa inyo yung mga, ano bang tawag doon? Haunted hospitals or centers?
Yeah. Oo, yung nakita namin sa Marikina, buti inayos na. No? Nagsisimula na silang ayusin, tinawag naming manananggal kasi meron siyang base pero wala siyang taas. Pero ngayon inaayos na nila. Thank you to Marikina. And then, yung iba naman kasi, merong facility, doon nagsimula yung term na haunted. Remember, they're not ghosts because they are there. It's just that walang tao. But anyway, the formal term here is non-operational. There are 300 as of latest count na hindi operational. So we launched this email address. Actually, you can go to our website. Punta ho kayo sa website ng DOH, www.doh.gov.ph/Bantay Super Health. That's one word, Bantay Super Health. Tapos, you will see the mechanics there. It includes how you can upload a picture. You can take a video or a picture and send it to the email bantaysuperhealth@doh.gov.ph. This will help us very much to speed up validation, even if we already have a list of the 300. But if everyone helps out and this will be submitted to us, mas makukuha kami ng advanced information kung saan yung pwede namin mga bisitahin.
Okay, so ulit na lang na medyo naging choppy yung line, Doc. Ilan po yung na-discover niyo? 300? Yeah. Was it 300 centers?
Yeah, I'll give you bigay ko sa iyo yung full numbers no para hindi tayo magkano sa counting.
Sige.
Since 2021, there have been 878 super health centers funded by the Health Facility Enhancement Program. That's 878. Out of this 878, there are 365 with ongoing construction, so there's no problem with that kasi ginagawa na sila. There are only 196 that are operational, 17 that are partially operational, and then 300 that are non-operational.
Okay.
Okay, so what led to this? Isn't it that when you plan to build a so-called super health center, meron na ring program to man these centers?
I'm glad you asked that, Tess, because we have preliminary data at that point that if it is the DOH that executes, that implements the Super Health Center assistance, umaandar siya. We actually end up being operational because the planning is bottoms up. Ibig sabihin, local government unit is on board. They actually agree with us as to the site, and they are fully committed to putting people. Unfortunately, there are also other super health centers na hindi DOH yung nag-implement. In fact, sometimes it's the LGU, sometimes it's the DPWH. And when that happens, you might be able to build a super health center, pero pagkadating sa singilan, parang ito na yung commitment nyo po, kailan nyo po tatauhan, biglang sasabihin, ay, nag-hire pa kami, or ay, kulang kami sa pang sweldo, etc. Pero meron yung memorandum of agreement.
So ideally, Doc, sino ba dapat yung nag-i-implement nito? I guess better if it's the DOH, no?
Ito kasi yung difficulty siya na meron tayong Local Government Code of 1991, Republic Act 7160, at ang nakalagay doon, ang primary healthcare is the responsibility of the municipality, sometimes up to the barangay, sometimes the city rin. Not even the province, kasi yung province, mga hospitals yan. And then the DOH, dapat mga specialty hospitals. That has been our law since 1991. But for some reason, and many reasons actually, hindi makapagpatayo yung ating mga local government units. So many valid reasons. So what happened was, around 2021, lumabas na itong Super Health Center program, pero hindi na bago yung batas na ganun. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng ganyang confusion.
Okay, so moving forward, are you guys planning to lobby na parang baka ibalik na lang sa DOH, or will that mean na ma-overwork din kayo and ma-overwhelm din kayo sa dami?
Actually, Shawn, it's even better. We did not stop at lobbying. We just did. We are doing. This is the bagong urgent care and ambulatory service centers, the PUCAS centers. They essentially are similar in size and capability to super health centers. But you know what, Shawn, what the big difference is? The one who owns the PUCAS is the Department of Health. Kaya madali namin tauhan, madali namin pondohan. And we have been saying, this is like the moving forward, the 300 non-operational. Sabi ni Secretary Verzosa, kung hindi na kaya ng LGU, hindi na kami maninisi, bahala na yung ibang agencies like the ICI na mag-investigate for any wrongdoing. But insofar as we're concerned, just donate those non-functional centers back to the DOH or use the USIPRAC, as the lawyers would say, and we will take over and run them like BUCAS centers, which are running.
So what happened was the devolution of the health services did not anticipate, did not catch up with the other laws. Parang ganon.
Correct. Correct, Steph. The resources. So if you compare education with health, ang education hindi sila na-devolve ang health na-devolve. So, dyan nag-ugat ang maraming problema since 1991 and counting. And,
hindi maganda yung batas na yan.
To fix it for so many years.
Actually, that law did not do good. Sino na nga gumawa ng batas na yan? Anyway.
Pero nabanggit niyo yung use of FROC, i-donate na lang back to the DOH yung 300 na non-operational super health centers. Parang yun ba yung balak nung PCO, di ba? Yung meron silang training center na bakit daw sila yung nagpatayo, nahanap nila sa Bukidnon, ngayon ibabalik, i-donate na lang daw nila sa Bukidnon for school. But how hard would that be just to manage her expectations, Dr. Domingo? Mahirap ba yun? Mahabang proseso ba?
Mabilis. Hindi, mabilis lang yan. The story of the first BUCAS Center in Santo Tomas, Pampanga, March 2024 binuksan. The local government of Santo Tomas, Pampanga had this small district hospital na hindi nila mapatakbo. So what they did, they executed the deed of donation. Mabilis ang pirmahan. Kasi nandun nakatayo na siya And in less than 1 month, napaandar siya and it's now seeing around 9,000 patients per month.
Okay, so that would be the benchmark, I guess.
Yeah.
But how would it work also, Doc? Do you guys call them up and say, oy guys, baka gusto nyo i-consider, i-donate na lang sa amin? Or,
yung mga haunted na nga.
Yung mga haunted. Or yun nga, kayo po ba yung nag-reach out? Or do you wait for them to reach out to you guys for the donation?
Well, it works both ways, no? So, one, we do reach out. Especially nowadays, no, na there's one of the benefits of this increased attention on the super health centers. More and more LGUs are now looking at these options. And as we always say, as we have demonstrated in the case of Antipolo. Nung dumating kami doon, parang medyo nagkahiyaan kasi inamin naman na Antipolo, they opened on the same day. Sabi nila, they've been preparing. Sabi namin, sige na, hindi na kami mag-bubustise, just make it run. So, umandar na siya. So, we're hoping that's going to happen with the 300 minus 2, 298 other super health centers na hindi pa namin physically napupuntahan, but there are already instructions for our regional directors to start para bang not only linking but even visiting, doing oculars doon sa mga super health centers na yun.
But did this not cross the attention, come to the attention of the DOH without this scandal, with this flood control scandal? Parang naging sanga lang siya eh. But apparently, I mean, 300, that's not, I mean, that's a big number.
Correct. 300 since 2021. Well, I can only speak for the time of Secretary Arbosa from June 2023 onwards. But remember, this has been going on since 2021.
And Sec, nabanggit nyo no, na pwedeng magsumbong via your email address through the official website of the DOH. Pero meron din bang nagsusumbong doon sa Sumbong sa Pangulo website about this? Kumbaga, kasi for some people, they might think, oh, infra rin naman kasi to.
Yeah, pwede. Actually, pwede rin yun. Pwede rin dumaan sumbong sa Pangulo. So far, wala pa namang nare-refer sa amin, but we'd be glad to take on any referrals if the Office of the President will receive such complaints.
All right, we thank you so much for joining us here on The Big Story. ASEC Albert Domingo, spokesperson of the Department of Health.
We're pausing for another breather, but right after that, Senator Ping Lacson is open to the idea of returning as Blue Ribbon Committee head, but he has a warning. That and more when we return. Keep it here on One News.
The Big Story is back with a warning from Senator Ping Lacson should he return as Blue Ribbon Chair. Lacson told Senate President Tito Soto that a leadership coup could be imminent. Soto is already tinkering with the idea of bringing back Lacson to the committee. Lacson is also Senate President pro tempore. Lacson warned of consequences to his return as Blue Ribbon head, including losing members of the majority and the positions that they hold. Asked for comment, Soto says he has nothing to fear. He is confident people will support any move to curb corruption. Lacson resigned as Blue Ribbon Chair after his peers expressed discontent over the way he handled the probe.
And still at the upper chamber, Senator Risa Ontiveros has made public her 2024 statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALN. She declared a net worth of nearly 19 million pesos with total assets close to 20 million and liabilities at around 900,000 pesos. Before this, members of the Makabayan and Akbayan reform blocs have volunteered to open their SALNs. This follows Ombudsman Boying Remulla's order lifting restrictions on public access to these documents. Senate Secretary General Renato Bantug Jr. explains that the upper chamber can release summaries and copies upon formal request. Under Policy Order 2019-001, requesters seeking details beyond the published summaries must submit a notarized letter stating a valid purpose.
34 major business groups are urging President Marcos to strengthen the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, amid the corruption scandal in public works. Among them, the Makati Business Club and Management Association of the Philippines, which want full legal authority granted ICI. They also recommend prosecuting all those involved, enacting institutional reforms, and giving regular updates to the public to restore trust and accountability. At the 51st Philippine Business Conference and Expo in Pasay City, business leaders at the event shared their frustration over the flood control scandal, saying corruption has eroded public trust and wasted taxpayer money. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry is among those who are urging the president to empower the ICI.
We feel that we need more, and we need decisive actions and decisions. We don't want cover-ups. We don't want railroading. We want really those responsible to be punished and to be identified. And the only person that can really do that by appointing those that are really into it, in addressing it, is our president.
Meanwhile, the ICI has shared its accomplishments for the week of October 13 to 17. Among them, the testimony of resigned Speaker Martin Romualdez and an asset recovery meeting with over a dozen government agencies last week. Also saw the Diskaya couple seizing cooperation with the ICI and the U.S. Embassy official asking about the fact-finding body's mandate.
And for our big picture tonight, young women took the top spots at this year's Philippine Military Academy entrance exams. Amanda Isabel Guzman of the Philippine Science High School in Bicol prevailed over 24,671 examinees. Just 1,436 made the cut, translating to a passing rate of 5.82%. That is an increase from last year's 5.02%. In fact, the top 3 passers are all women. Joining Guzman are Gwen Kyla Falashol from PSHS Central Mindanao and Afia Kim Lomondoya from Albert Einstein School Incorporated. Training for PMA class of 2030 begins in May of 2026. We end it with girl power.
Exactly. Hopefully, we get a chief of staff who's a woman. AFP Chief of Staff,
and
who's a woman.
They're all from, like, one's from Albert Einstein School, and then 2 from, I'm not sure, but it sounds like a hard school. Yeah. And then Philippine Science High School, which we know is a hard school.
And the top was from Bicol.
Yes.
Always in the news lately.
Yeah, Region 5. But that is it for the big story on this Monday. Thank you so much for watching.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.